What is up, guys? Guys26 again here, and today I'm bringing you an instructional video. This is going to be how to build a competitive Pokemon team, and today we're going to be starting out with the defensive walls and kind of what things to consider when building a team. Now, as a bit of a disclaimer, I mean you can use any Pokemon as a defensive wall or as a defensive poke, and not all teams need defensive pokes. You can run hyper offensive teams which have no defensive Pokemon in them, and I mean you don't have to use the ones I've showcased. I'm just showcasing good examples, and I'm also going to try and explain what kind of things to consider when picking your Pokemon, and we'll also give other examples regardless of the ones I'm giving. So generally on a team you're going to want to have two sorts of walls. You're going to want a defensive wall, and you're going to want a specialty defensive wall. So if we look at the pokes we have here, these are some different sets. So for a start, the two Pokemon I'm choosing to use right now are Ferrothorn and Jellicent. And why do I want to use those? Well, they are pretty much, anyone who played Gen 5 probably knows this already, but they are the I don't know how to describe them. The co-op partners to end all co-op partners. They complement each other very nicely. For a start, Ferrothorn, when in max defense, I mean you can have specially defensive Ferrothorns as well. He has got good special defense, but if you make a physically defensive Ferrothorn, you have a physical wall here, and then Jellicent here, you can make a very good special defensive wall. Like if you look at the EVs here, I have set up for these two sets. The other two sets don't have EVs, but we'll get to those in a second. And secondly, the way they play works really well as well. For example, Ferrothorn's weak to fire, Jellicent resists fire, Jellicent is weak to dark and ghost. Ferrothorn used to resist those in Gen 5, now he doesn't, so that's kind of the trade-off there. But where one has resistances, the other one has weaknesses, the other has resistances. For example, grass and whatever, and electric types. And the other way is in their sort of synergy together. So if we look first at this Ferrothorn set, first of all, items, leftovers. Why do we want to run leftovers? If you're having a defensive Pokemon, you're gonna want to have some sort of reliable recovery to help keep your Pokemon alive. I mean, leftovers is a good choice. I'll come on to other choices as well later on, which you can probably see if you're looking at the screen, unless I've done something different. And you can see on this set we're running Thunder Wave, Stealth Rock, Spikes, and Power Whip. For defensive walls, you're not going to want to run too many offensive moves because they're not going to be hitting very hard. This is going to be an entry hazard setup kind of poke. As you can see, I'm running Stealth Rocks and Spikes, so I can set up a lot of hazards with this. And then I'm running Thunder Wave. Thunder Wave is sort of utility move that can paralyze the enemy team, and then their Pokemon is slower. It cuts their speed in half, so all their fast pokes are essentially now slow, and you can outspeed them easily, and you also have a chance to get power hacks, which is always nice. So that's the moveset idea here. And then if we go converse down to this first Jellicent set, for a start, Jellicent is part Ghost, so it complements this set very nicely because you have an inbuilt spin blocker in a bulky water type. Do you know what I mean? Like most spin blockers are offensive, like Gengar, or you have really frail to Stealth Rocks, or like Frostlass. So I mean, now with Trevenant, you have another choice for a spin blocker, but with this sort of team with a Ferro Jelly, you've got a good way to set up hazards and then spin block them with another bulky Pokemon. So now if we look at the second Ferrothorn set, this one uses a different sort of set. This would be physically defensive as well. I just haven't done the EVs on this one because it doesn't really matter because I'm only trying to showcase it. This time I'm running Rocky Helmet and Iron Barbs, and this is what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to always use leftovers on your. This is what I'm trying to say right here. You don't have to use leftovers. Leftovers is a good choice, not gonna lie, and it's a safe choice on any sort of wall, and probably a good starting option if you're just starting to play this sort of game. But Rocky Helmet on the Ferro is also quite common because what Rocky Helmet does is it does damage to anyone who hits with a physical contact move, which is the same thing as what happens with Ferrothorn's ability, Iron Barbs. So with Iron Barbs alone, you do about 12% of the pokes match them in health, and with Rocky Helmet you do another 12%, so that's 24% of a poke's max health done if he hits you with a Rocky Helmet, hits your Rocky Helmet Ferrothorn. And why is that good? Well, Ferrothorn is your defensive wall. He can take tons of physical hits, and you can you can send him in to an obvious physical hit, take it, and then deal back some damage. So that's one sort of strategy you can use. But remember what I said earlier? I said reliable recovery is very important in your defensive bulky Pokemon. So because I'm not running leftovers, I'm instead running Leech Seed here, and you can instead use Leech Seed as a way to regain your health from Pokemon. I'm running Stealth Rocks again because, you know, it's the best game move in the game. I'm running instead of running Thunder Wave on this set. I mean, these sets aren't sets you should use or are good sets. I mean, I personally use the set up top, the top set here anyway. But this set, I'm just sort of putting moves on that are quite viable. So instead of running Thunder Wave on this one, I'm using Toxic. So I'm not going for the movement speed slow. I'm actually going for you know, getting rid of their defensive walls and toxicing things down, stalling out and stuff. This isn't very good to have Toxic on this set, and I'll explain why later on, because there are better sets that use Toxic. This doesn't really, it's not very good Toxic staller, this set. You're just going to die, really. I mean, depends how much recovery you end up getting with Leech Seed. And then the final things I forgot to mention with both sets is the attacking move. You should always have at least one offensive move. I mean, it's not necessary, but it does stop you getting taunt locked. If someone taunts your Ferrothorn and he hasn't got any offensive moves, he can't do anything, and he's just going to have to struggle and then do massive recoil damage himself. So it's always good to have one stab move at least on a defensive wall. So in this set I'm running Power Whip, on this one I'm running Gyro Ball. Steel and grass types moves for stab. So moving on now. Finally moving on to my Jellicent. Jellicent, I feel, is a very strong poke and should be a part of every team because he's awesome. Anyway, yeah, ability is Water Absorb, so you can switch it into any water type attack and get your HP back, which is nice. As with all bulky water types, like Vaporeon and stuff, you want to be running Scald over Surf or something, because you have the chance to get the burn, and that utility is very good because you can essentially spam Scald. Even if it's not very effective, you know you're not really putting yourself down because you can literally just hope for the burn. You will get the burn 30% of the time, and you're then one step ahead because you've burnt whatever it is that's in front of you, and a burn is always nice. Then you're using Recover here for some recovery, Will-O-Wisp here for a definite burn, and then Shadow Ball I like to run on Jellicent for some dual stab. People might switch in expecting you to only have the Scald, but in fact you run the Shadow Ball 2. I've caught out several Latioses with that. They switch into a Scald, don't expect the Shadow Ball, but I have it. I mean, this is actually a set I run it in one of my teams. I don't know if I've used that team in a video, but this is a set I run and I would recommend it. It's a very good one. I got Recover here for reliable recovery along with Leftovers. But that's not the only one you have to run. If you come down the bottom here, this is a very good Toxic stall set. We have Protect Toxic, which is a very good combination because you can stall out turns with Protect and get the Toxic damage racking up. I've got Scald again as standard, and then Giga Drain here as well for coverage and some bit of HP gain. I mean, you don't have to use Giga Drain on this set. I personally don't think Giga Drain is that great. I'd probably just run Recover. But I'm just saying, you know, you can have some coverage moves on a wall as well as your utility moves. So that's the Ferro Jelly combo covered as in depth as I think I'd like. I mean, I'm trying to remember if there's anything else, but because I don't want to make this video too long, I'm going to cut out there, and I'm going to do a second group of walls that synergize well with each other. This is Slowbro. Slowbro is a bastard and never dies and just tanks hits for days. You can use, this is what we call a Regenerator core, because you'd have two pokes with the Regenerator, either Slowking or Slowbro along with this Amoonguss or any other Regenerator Pokemon. I mean, I wouldn't recommend using something like Tornadus Therian because it's not defensive, but this is why I think it works very well. So let's start with the Slowbro. So for a start, if we just click on this Slowbro here, it's got 350 defense that are coupled with nigh on 400 HP. That's crazy. This thing's never going to die from a physical hit. You can run a boosting move on a Slowbro, such as Calm Mind or possibly even Amnesia, just to boost your special defense so you're not even that weak in that area. And then you can run Flamethrower, Scald, Psychic for some damages. That's why I'd run Calm Mind on this particular set, because you're running 3 offensive moves. I'm just trying to showcase the coverage he has. He's got Psychic and Scald for stab, and then Flamethrower to surprise any grass types that come in. So he has very good coverage, very good several different sets you can run, and the reliable recovery comes in with your Regenerator ability, which means every time you switch in you get 1/3 of your maximum HP back. Now you can do the same thing with Slowking. The converse with Slowking is instead of having a beefy defense, he has beefy special defense. He's literally Slowbro but specially defensive. So you can run Slowking the same way, but in this set I'm using something different, which you can use on other Pokemon, including things like Road and Wash, which people run a lot, which is Rest and Chesto Berry, which means you rest once, you get all your HP back, cure any status like Toxic, and get your HP back. Or in conversely, you can run Rest, Sleep, Talk, which means you can rest and then Sleep, Talk, and then hopefully just, you know, wing it on whatever move you're going to use. Sleep Talk means if you're asleep, you can attack. Yeah, and it will just randomly pick a move for you. So you might pick Rest, I might pick Scald, I might pick Ice Beam. And yeah, this is just, you know, same thing, Scald and Ice Beam for coverage, because it's quite nice to have. And then finally, you have your Amoonguss. And he's got the Regenerator too, left these two. Now Amoonguss can go either way, he can be defensive or especially defensive. On this team, if I was running Slowking, I'd make him a defensive Amoonguss. If I was Slowbro with defense, I'd probably run especially defensive Amoonguss. I mean, I personally prefer physically defensive Amoonguss, but I often see specially defensive Amoonguss a lot more, but I can't really imagine what sort of moves it can switch into. I mean, this Amoonguss isn't really a high tier poke. It was NU for a time, or RU or something for a time, and now it's UU. It was UU the end of the end of Gen 5. I think mainly because of the Regenerator with Slowbro. But I mean, it has so many weaknesses: fire, flying, psychic. I mean, it's got tons of weaknesses. So personally, I don't like to use Amoonguss, but it is a very good combo with Slowbro, I'm not gonna lie. And so anyway, alongside the Amoonguss, you can run Spore to send something to sleep as a good utility sort of move, Giga Drain for some sort of recovery, and then Toxic Protect maybe to stall people out. I mean, this is not a set you have to use, like I'm saying, explore with different sets. I'm just trying to give you an idea of what sort of moves you want to be using on these sorts of Pokemon, not necessarily full sweeper sets, because they're not going to really benefit from them. And then obviously, once again, with the Slowking, Slowbro, Amoonguss core, you are obviously resisting each other's weaknesses. So you have grass and water synergy here. Not so much with poison and psychic, because poison doesn't really resist dark or ghost, but you know, you got some sort of resistance here. And that also makes a very good defensive poke. The more resistances it has, the better of a defensive poke it is, which is why Rotom Wash is such a good defensive Pokemon, because it only has one weakness, which is to grass, and it has an immunity in the form to ground. It's very strong, and that's why it's OU as a defensive wall. Now these are just some other pokes I decided to bring out, and this is just my sort of utility section of the video. Pokemon you can use to for utility for your team. So here is one of the worst things to happen in Gen 6. No, I'm only kidding. But it is incredibly frustrating to play against. Anyone would know it. It's Klefki. It can go defensive or specially defensive. This one happens to be defensive because it's the default one EVs the site gave me. It's just said suggested spread. If you're also playing this game for the first time and you've just made a set, just click the suggested spread and try it out. I mean, you can't really go wrong with that, with the Smogon suggested spread. Especially if you're not entirely sure what you're doing. It's always a good idea. So why would you use this set? Well, for a start, you have Prankster, which means any sort of move that's non-attacking will go first, no matter what. So you have Priority Swagger, Priority Substitute, Priority Thunder Wave. Swagger Substitute's a great combination, because the enemy is going to hit themselves in confusion quite often and do a lot of damage themselves, and you can tank the damage they're dealing to you with a sub. You've got Leftovers for recovery, T-Wave, Priority T-Wave to take out even the fast pokes and make them slow for your team, and then Foul Play is just a good offensive move, and it counters Aegislash very nicely because Aegislash has high attack, and Klefki will abuse that with the Foul Play, and also any high attacking Pokemon will be dominated by Foul Play really, unless it resists Dark. So that's the Klefki, and this is a set you see, this is a very popular set, it's a very effective set, but please don't use it because it's freaking frustrating. Yeah, this guy has too much swag, and I can't deal with the swag, and it makes me want to rage quit, not gonna lie. Anyway, moving on to Vaporeon is another bulky water, similar to Jellicent. Personally not as good as Jellicent if I'm honest, but it is a lot more tanky because it has a ton more HP than Jellicent, and then it's pretty much unkillable. It's essentially what a Vaporeon is. I mean, this set is a set that works, and a set I have run before. It's not the most ideal set. I doubt there are probably better sets in it, and you can always look at his move pool to investigate. But the main thing I wanted to get to put through with this set is the Wish Protect combo. Wish is a move that you cast the Wish on one turn, and then the next turn you get the HP back. And the higher max HP your poke has, this has 464 max HP, the better the wish is. So the higher base defense, the bigger the wish return is. So if you wish, switch out, and then let the wish pass to a different Pokemon, that Pokemon's gonna get HP back. And if the Pokemon who sent the wish has high HP, you're gonna get more HP. So Vaporeon is a very good wish passer because it has high HP. It can also protect on the turn the wish is going to come back, and you can get a free recovery. Pretty much, it's not as good as quick as recover, because recover is obviously a straight, that one turn you get all your HP back. But it's definitely a nice idea because it can provide healing for the rest of your team, provided you can get say switching. And then I'm just running acid armor to cover my to cover my weakness in the physical side, and Scald here because spam Scalds, get burns, win the game. You could also run possibly Toxic instead of acid armor if you wanted to, and then you could Wish Protect, stall them out if you wanted to be a penis. But yeah, if you run acid armor, they're going to get scared because you can't kill a Vaporeon if it starts to set up some acid armors. And then finally, one of my favourites, Mandibuzz in this gen, probably should be running Overcoat as an ability. I didn't think about that when I was making these teams to show you guys. Overcoat means you don't take damage from weather and powder moves, so you can't be spored, you can't be stun spored, you can't be sleep powdered or anything like that. You can't be damaged by Sandstorm, which is nice, and you got leftovers for recovery. Again, I think this set is okay. It functions, but I feel like there are probably better sets out there. But this is the set I'll run. Foul Play, again, you know what Foul Play does. It's really good against physically offensive type of Pokemon. You got Roost here for recovery. Taunt to shut down their sort of setups or walls or something, stop them getting up any hazards or something. And then also you have Defog here, which is a brilliant move this gen. Defog has been buffed, and it now removes entry hazards from both sides of the field. Remember that. It will remove your entry hazards as well as the enemies. So you've got to think about that. If you're running entry hazards and a defogger, you're going to remove your own hazards if you have set them up. But it does mean, however, that it provides another utility to these sorts of Pokemon that can run Defog, in the sense that they can remove entry hazards. And I mean, that's also something I wanted to bring up, is that other walls can be also removing entry hazards, such as Fortress. He can run Rapid Spin. Avalugg can run Rapid Spin. Avalugg doesn't die, man. You should try running an Avalugg. I've been using it recently. It's freaking awesome. So yeah, and there you go, some sort of Rapid Spinner. So if we were to come back and sort of summarize this video as a whole, hoping it wasn't incredibly boring, things we want to mention. We want to mention the fact that see if you can find some sort of synergy between two sets of Pokemon, resistances and weaknesses that complement each other, spin blockers and such, if you're going to have one that sets up a lot of hazards. You can get creative with abilities such as Regenerator and bring them up 100. Such as Regenerator, if you're going to keep switching out. Oh god, that was the worst stammer ever. Anyway, and you can also use setup moves to reinforce your weaknesses and have good coverage as well with different pokes. You can run the Resto Chesto, you can run the Rest Sleep Talk, and you can also run the Sleep Toxic stalling shenanigans. And try and find some pokes maybe that may not have the best defensive. I mean, 309 is very good, but then you look at Mandibuzz, has got 339. So actually, it's not. I mean, it's 30 difference, but I mean, kind of, it makes a difference, kind of. But regardless, even though it might not be the bulkiest poke, even though it doesn't have that great base HP either, it can still play a good role because it has Prankster and can set up the Swagger sub, Thunderwave, and can still be a very good poke in that way. So I'm hoping this was somewhat useful to you guys. I will be bringing out a video soon as well on how to make sweepers, and then finally Team Synergy. and different sets you can run in that video. The third video is kind of going to be like a random video of just team comps and like what complements each other well, how to find things that complement each other, and interesting sets you can run when like combining items with movesets or items with abilities, etc, etc, etc. And final thing from me, you can stop watching now if you're never going to watch my videos ever again, but if you're concerned or whatever this concerns you, my mic right now is very new, and I bought it recently because it's a Roccat Cave, and I'm like, oh yeah, surround sound, and unfortunately it actually sounds like shit. So I really apologize for the static in the back of this video. I really need to find a way of fixing it. I've been trying so hard, so I haven't been able to put out a video with my voice recently. The latest video I recorded was just like a montage clip, wasn't it, of League of Legends, and I can't seem to fix my mic, so that kind of sucks. But I should probably explain that in a different video, but I've started explaining it in this one now. So bear with me, guys, if you hate the audio, but thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.